Witness Notes 13. Isère, France, December 2020. After you have read these introductory paragraphs once, you can skip to the new, old content here. If you are listening, then the timestamp is around the 2-minute 45-second mark. Introduction. The word settled to me carries connotations I am keen to avoid. I have never felt settled, or perhaps I cannot recall a time I felt settled. I do not feel settled now, writing this, and I've lived in the same house for 3.5 years. Without even discussing the obvious issues of colonisation, I just don't feel like I could or should settle. Better to keep my constituent parts shook up, agitated perhaps, rather than separating and stagnant. Instead, I feel as though I have been travelling for years, maybe because I have not lived in my home nation of Scotland for 8.5 years. Perhaps because I know I won't stay here forever, or maybe because I carry that concept of home in a way which differs from many. More precisely, I still think of myself as a slow traveller, globally feral. Recently, I've been revisiting places through the photographs and words I recorded when my feet crossed their soil. This is a way of reminding myself of where I have been, not just in space and time, but in mind too. It is a wonderful thing to come out of a low and rediscover myself through words I crafted, through the lens of a camera, when memory has wandered in the fog for too long. Thank you, past me. When I first started sharing letters with the world in this fashion 6 or more years ago, I usually began them with a vignette of where I was, a sort of travel diary mixed with nature observation, locking in the setting for the reader before I spoke of other things, and by so doing ensuring that place fed into the whole. It was a useful device for a reader and myself both, but as these letters were sent to so few readers, and now languish archived behind a paywall, I thought it a shame not to share these snippets again. As such, I am going to share a short series of these sketches accompanied by a photograph from that time, sent to you in date order, beginning with the second eldest. I shall include the above paragraphs in each of the letters in this series, but I shall also include a link at the very start so you can skip ahead once you are familiar with the above words. If you are listening and similarly want to skip, then the timestamp you want to navigate to will be in the same place. Taken without these paragraphs, each is a short read, and I hope you enjoy them. Isère, France, December 2020. The air grips the lungs from the inside, mountain cold and surprisingly dry, despite the thick fog weaving tendrils down streets and flowing a blanket over the valley. There are snow-covered peaks in all directions, but I only know this through memory. They are lost in the darkening grey. Sound is deadened, snow and mist absorbing. A crow call might come from any direction none, the alarm of the blackbird echoing off unseen walls. The air itself smells of snow, dusty and ancient. Here a persimmon, laden with bright baubles, there the yellow of a tenacious aspen leaf. I cannot see them, but I imagine the ibex and chamois on their ridges, digging down through the wind-blown drifts, finding the food to sustain themselves through the winter. For winter this is. It began to snow the night before I arrived, which was kind of nature, as if she wanted the mountains to look their very best. Once they finally reappear, foggy curtains roll back and stupendous reflected sun spotlighting peak, crevice and cliff. Time and distance are twisted and folded here. Maps need expert contouring, the eye translating the lines into the three-dimensional. Nearby wolves have again been sighted, returning to an area they left years ago. Where one wolf is seen, there are others, many others, and camera traps have shown this to be the case. Whispers of approaching brown bear, the hidden, practically invisible lynx, the great earth movers of wild boar, and even the spreading European jackal, all are close by as the crow flies. As this crow walks, however, the trails and tracks into the high slopes, cliffs, and wooded valleys above would take considerably longer and much further. That's not to say these creatures do not venture down. They do, and during the confinement earlier this year, some did so in numbers, and I like this. It is oddly reassuring how quickly nature fills a void. Snow is an incredible canvas, whether to learn to track or to simply decorate with footprints or designs. It is wiped clean by melt, revitalized by fresh fallen crystals, ever-changing and, to me, always a wonder. Here, stories are told and retold, new ones recorded afresh. Each mark is just a tiny portion of an incomprehensible whole, yet each mark is also crucial. A tale would not be complete without it. Finally, if you can afford to, there are currently 2 direct ways to support my work here. The first is to take out a paid subscription. The second way to support me here is to use my Ko-fi button link to send a tip of any amount. If you enjoyed this letter and wish to share it with others, please do so. I love it when someone shares my work. I also love it when you comment on a piece, really, really love it. Although I always read and appreciate these comments, during 2025 I was not as good at responding as quickly as I would like, but seeing as my word of the year for 2026 is communication, I like to think that will soon change. Finally, many thanks for reading. I truly appreciate each and every one of you who does.